high undesirable vibration response, system may fail, and that is what instability all about. And what is hydrodynamic instability? Hydrodynamic instability is inherent in all journal bearings. You cannot avoid it. You cannot actually remove it. Only thing is that you can minimize it. You can suppress it by better design of the bearing, but it will be always there in journal bearing. Okay. So now, because of this bearing instability, the whole system will fail. For example, like these bearings are support sharing members. These are only carrying the loads and allowing relative motion. So you have like turbines or disc generators, so maybe gear assembly. Okay, so all are supported in these bearings. Now those um, turbine, generator, or gear assembly, those are costly. Those should not be redesigned or refined based on this hydrodynamic instability. So it is easy that you refine your bearing or redesign your bearing, because bearing, as you know, general bearing is just a bush bearing. It's just a ring. So you can redesign this bearing to have better stability. So just for the time being, keep in mind that if the bearing is loaded, then you have less instability. So this instability in a journal bearing goes up, okay, with loading going down. If lightly loaded bearing, that means lightly loaded bearing are more unstable than heavily loaded bearings. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so like as I say, this instability increases when bearing is less loaded. That means if you load a bearing deliberately, the instability will reduce. So, for example, your plain journal bearing has a configuration like this. Okay, is journal and bearing. So there are other configurations where you can actually load it. This is your plain journal bearing. This is 4 axial grooves. These grooves are in axial direction. Okay, like this is the bearing. So these grooves are in the axial direction. Okay, this is the groove. So by that you can actually feed oil and load the bearing. So your ultimate is to load this journal. Okay. So also you can have configuration like elliptical bearing, like okay. So in this elliptical bearing, so as you have a converging section here, you can see on the top. So there will be pressure development on the top. So this bearing will be loaded. This is called elliptical configuration. Okay. Similarly, offset half bearings. So offset half, So offsets are provided here. Then you put your journal. Okay. By this also you can load the journal. So your ultimate aim is to load the journal. In normal journal bearing, your pressure distribution is something like this. This is your pressure distribution. Okay. We don't want to get this pressure distribution. Okay. So you load it so that this pressure will be distributed. Now the best configuration used widely in industries for journal bearing is tilting pad journal bearing. What is that? You have, this is the journal. Okay. This is called tilting pad journal bearing. You see, there are 4 pads here. The number of pads depends on the size of the bearing. Okay, there are 4 pads here. So these 4 pads, pressure will develop individually in the pads. Now imagine in this bearing, plain journal bearing, there is only one pressure profile. But in this case, there will be 4 pressure profiles distributed, and that will help to stabilize the bearing. And these pads will tilt based on the loading. It will tilt automatically because there is a pivot here. So it will tilt automatically to adjust the load or to adjust the pressure. So this is called tilting pad journal bearing. This is the most widely used bearing in industries. Okay, to avoid instability. Now, let us discuss how this instability comes. What is the cause of this instability? Cause of cause of hydrodynamic instability. Now, in a stable configuration, when the bearing operates, it operates like this. This is journal center. Okay. Now the external load is acting, that is W. So this external load, as I told you, this is balanced by the fluid pressure that we know now. This is balanced by the fluid pressure P. Because of P, you get the force F. So F stands for fluid force. So F equal to W. So it is balanced. Okay. Now what happens? You know, in operating speed, when journal rotates, then in ideal condition AF equal to W, but all systems are expected to get little change in load. So this is your bearing and this is your journal. So this one earlier was W and this one was F. Now if you see the bearing center is somewhere here. Okay, this is bearing center, this is journal center. Now F equal to W, it is balanced. Now because of some reason it vibrates, or this load W it goes plus or minus delta W. Okay, load may change. So load is not exactly W, it may be slightly plus or minus delta W. Imagine that at some point of time instantly now there is the load is let's say minus delta W some amount. Then what will happen? This AF will be greater than W. Okay, W is now minus delta W, so it is greater than this at some point of time, because this force F is the fluid pressure due to fluid pressure. So instantly you can change this delta W, but this fluid pressure takes some time to change. Okay, now your load W reduces, that means your ultimately this pressure will reduce, this pressure will reduce to balance it. Okay, but that instant the pressure is same P and it is same F. Now that means F is greater than W minus delta W. So what will happen in that case? In that case, this force will push the journal upward. Okay. Now in the next instant, this delta W may change again. So that so in that case, this F is never equal to W. So F is always trying to adjust W, but it takes some time because of fluid pressure. So fluid pressure cannot change instantly. So ultimately what will happen? So once it starts, this is the journal center. So journal center will be disturbed and it will make a circle around or ellipse around bearing center. So forget about the rotation of journal. This is the rotation of journal, which is omega. Okay, journal is rotating with a speed of omega. Okay, this is rotating this way. With a speed of omega, it is rotating. So this is rotating with a speed of omega, and now the journal center is making a move around bearing center. See this dotted line, this red. Okay, so that is also having some other speed. So this is called omega p. So there are two speeds now. One is omega, which is the speed, that is our desired speed, or at what speed we are running our turbine, generator, or gear assembly, or whatever machinery. Okay, so that is the speed of journal. So omega p is the speed of journal center about bearing center. Center about bearing center. Okay, so any doubt? Okay, so this omega, this fellow omega, it is not in your control. So therefore, you cannot actually remove it. So this is called whirling. Whirl. This is wheel speed. This is called whirling. This is known as whirling of the journal. So journal center will rotate about bearing center. Okay. So this whirling for hydrodynamic journal bearing, just remember this is WP or omega P by omega equal to or approximately equal to 1 by 2, half. Okay. So we'll see how it is half. So omega P by omega equal to half. So this is called half wheel mechanism. Half wheel mechanism or instability. So imagine you run your journal with a speed of, let's say, 1000 rpm or 2000 rpm or 3000 rpm. Omega P will always exist. Omega P will be always there, and it will run at what speed? It will run at omega by 2. Okay, half of the speed of the journal. That is called spinning speed. Even this one you can call spinning speed of journal. Okay. So theoretically it is half of the speed. Okay. So now type of instability. Okay. So first one is subsynchronous. Subsynchronous. Yes, please.
Sir, this ratio will remain same irrespective of the, unbalanced load.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't matter.
This will remain same. Okay.
Yeah, it will remain same. Theoretically, it is half. I'll tell you, exact value is not half. It is actually 0.35. Okay. So, but that is from exact numerical study. But theoretically, in a crude way of solving this is almost half. Okay. That we'll see in detail. But this speed is not going to change. This omega P by omega ratio will remain same, whatever speed you take.
And okay. So when the pressure will actually balance the, the offset load.
Try to imagine. See, things are vibrating. You know, like this is the ideal case pen and paper. We are saying this is W, right? But when the things are operating in actual industry, this W never remains same. It always plus or minus delta W.
Okay, sir.
Okay. For that instant, it will try to balance. When it goes to balance it, then at that point, delta W will change to another value. Okay. So therefore, W will never remain same for for longer period of time. You know that's why system vibrates, right? So that is the thing.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So there are two types of instability. One is subsynchronous vibration, which we name it as wheel. The next is resonating vibration. We name it as whip, WHIP. Okay. Now another is synchronous vibration. Can anyone tell me what is synchronous vibration? You have already studied vibration, machine vibration. What is synchronous vibration? Any idea? See, in your vibration study, what you do? mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx equal to f, right? How do you solve this equation? Can anyone tell me how you solve this equation?
So we find the homogeneous part, the general solution and particular solution and add it.
This way also you do. You assume f equal to AF e to the power I omega t, right?
Yes, sir.
And AX you assume actually capital X e to the power I omega t. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now this is called synchronous. Can anyone tell me why synchronous?
They are in phase.
So it will have same frequency.
They are having the same vibrating frequency. You are assuming. See, try to understand. It is not that happening. You are assuming the vibration is synchronous, first of all, in your mind. And then you are putting a forcing function. This forcing function you are putting with omega. And the same you are putting for response. Right? So when response and the forcing, okay, input and output. So input is your forcing function. Output is your response. Now both are having the same frequency. So then it is called synchronous vibration. Okay.
Sir, then what is the difference in different resonance, sir? Even in the resonance, the external frequency will be equal to the natural frequency of the system.
Yeah, that is, I'll come to that. Okay, let us first complete synchronous vibration. In synchronous vibration, you run your system, let's say 30 hertz. Okay, sorry, you vibrate your system with 30 hertz, and response you will get also in the 30 hertz. Okay, clear? So that is what you are doing this solution. When you do the solution, you do it. Okay, like this. Now this is called synchronous vibration. So it is very easy to solve this synchronous vibration. Now coming here, I mentioned two things. One is subsynchronous, one is resonating. Okay. Now in the subsynchronous, that is actually omega p. See, in our system, in the journal bearing, who is actually giving this vibration? This omega p. If omega p is not there, imagine. So journal will not be disturbed. It will remain same at that point and it will just rotate. So there will be no vibration at all. If you imagine there is no omega p or no amplitude involved with omega p, then there is no vibration at all for journal bearing. The journal will remain same at that point. It will just go on rotating. So rotating will not give you anything, any vibration here. Okay. But because of omega p, the journal is vibrating. Okay, journal is going upward this way. Okay, so ultimately it will fail when it will, this amplitude of this omega p will be very high. At that point, what will happen? This journal will touch the bearing surface. If journal touches bearing surface, then system will fail. It will rub it. System will fail. So now this omega p, as you can see here, for our case, we told that omega p is half wheel mechanism, which is half of the speed of journal. Okay, so therefore it is called subsynchronous vibration. Okay, it is subsynchronous vibration. Now what about resonating vibration? Your friend was asking. Resonating vibration. Yes.
They both are equal. I guess.
Yeah, when the vibration, see, you go on increasing this omega. Okay, go on increasing this omega. System will be having some natural frequencies, omega 1, omega 2, omega 3. Okay, when it matches to this omega 1, then system may fail. So that is your resonating vibration. But in our heterodynamic case, things are completely different. We'll see now the case. Okay, let me delete it, then we can move ahead. Okay, let me draw so this side we will draw wheeling speed, wheel speed, which is omega p. Now this side will go for speed of journal, omega. So then, as I told, it is half wheel mechanism. So this is your omega p by omega. This line is omega p by omega equal to 1. Okay. So this is omega p by omega equal to 1. But we'll follow a line. This will follow this line. This is omega p by omega equal to half. Okay. Now in this line, let us plot the vibration. If at all there is vibration, so in this line, so let us first mark a system will be having natural frequencies. Let's say our first natural frequency is here, omega 1. Second natural frequency is here, omega 2. Third natural frequency is here, omega 3. Okay, likewise. These are omega 1, omega 2, omega 3 are natural frequencies. Now you go on increasing speed of the journal. So when you increase your speed, now if you see omega p has to be half. So vibration will come as per omega p. Okay, depending on omega p, you will get vibration response. So it will vibrate like this as you increase the speed. Okay. So this vibration amplitude is like this. This is almost stable. Now what will happen at omega 1 when we increase the speed? Can anyone tell me?
So there should be 2 omega 1, right? Like at 2 omega 1.
Yes, very good. So this is omega 1 value. This is omega 2 value. Don't be confused. So there will be a value of 2 omega here. 2 omega 1. This one. Okay. So you increase the speed, nothing will happen at omega 1. I am telling you. Okay. Because your system is not vibrating at omega 1. Your system is vibrating at omega p. Now you go on increasing, the vibration response will be very small. Okay. Now go on increasing, vibration response will be small and slowly it will increase, and at omega 1, twice of omega 1, here this point, this vibration response will be very high. Okay, clear? Because at this point what is happening, you are actually touching at this point. If you take it here, you are touching actually omega 1. Okay. So when your system reaches a speed of 2 omega 1, or your journal, system means your journal is rotating, when your journal reaches a speed of 2 omega 1, then system will vibrate with a very high response and system will fail. Okay. So you do one thing, again you increase the speed beyond 2 omega 1. So what do you expect if I increase the speed beyond 2 omega 1?
So vibration will settle down.
No, it is not the case for journal bearing. It is interesting in case of journal bearing. Try to understand that up to 2 omega 1, when omega p reaches, omega p is equal to omega 1. Okay, that means omega equal to 2 omega 1. Okay, at this point you will get this vibration. Okay, this is called your second type. Now the vibration from here to here, this is called your subsynchronous vibration. Clear? Now from here to here, this is called resonating vibration. Here to here means this, at this point only. This is called resonating vibration. Okay. Now you increase the speed further beyond this point. Okay. So but your omega p will stick to omega 1. It will no more follow this, no more follow half. So that means if you are increasing your speed, let us say beyond 2 omega 1, but omega p will remain always with omega 1. Okay, so therefore this is called resonating vibration. That means you have no choice of increasing the speed further or beyond 2 omega 1. If you increase the speed beyond 2 omega 1, then omega p divided by omega will not be half. Omega p will be equal to omega 1 always beyond this point. Okay, so this is called whip. This is called whip. This is a very typical to journal bearing. This is called whip and this is called wheel. Okay, so whip will be always with omega 1, whatever speed you increase further beyond this line. Okay, so any doubt, anything you want to ask here? So that means it is not following this rule that omega p by omega equal to half beyond your 2 omega 1 speed. It will always follow beyond 2 omega 1. It will always follow omega p equal to omega. It is static. So omega p will not change further. It will remain static. So therefore, this 2 omega 1 is called threshold speed of journal bearing. Okay, or you can say it system critical speed. So you can run your journal. In reality, you can run your journal up to, let's say, 0.8 of this omega s. Omega s is your threshold speed. Okay, 0.8, 0.85. Because as you know, when you go close to resonating speed, then your vibration slowly increases. So to avoid that, most people run the journal bearing up to maximum up to 0.8 of this threshold speed. Now this is not true for ball bearings. Ball bearings, you go on increasing, there is no subsynchronous vibration in case of ball bearing. Okay, so it will increase, the speed and the vibration will increase as per the speed. But for journal bearing, it will follow up to 2 omega 1. Omega p upon omega will follow half. Beyond that, omega p will stick to omega 1. Okay. So any doubt so far? Okay. Now typically there are two types of vibration when you see the configuration of journal bearing.
Sir,
Yes.
so this omega 1 is the first, the angular velocity corresponding to the first natural frequency of the system, right?
Yes.
Sir, in that case, sir, usually the system, when the systems are very heavy, the frequency, the natural frequencies are very less. Then the omega corresponding to it will be also very less.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes. So you have to design your system such that, see, ultimate aim is to increase this threshold speed. Okay.
okay,
So
sir.
that means, so you have to design your system such that you have a high omega 1 value.
Okay, sir.
So then you can run your system. It all depends on what RPM or what angular frequency you want to run the journal. So based on that, journal bearings are designed.
Okay, sir.
Okay, try to understand here. There are two types of whirling possible, subsynchronous wheel. Two types possible. One is translatory. One is conical. This will happen when L by D ratio is small, narrow bearings, and this will happen if L by D ratio is large. Okay, if L by D ratio large, it may vibrate like this also. Okay, this is a conical mode of vibration, and for small L by D ratio, there will be no conical mode of vibration. It will be completely translatory type. Okay. Now let us predict this half wheel mechanism. Theoretical prediction of wheel instability. Okay. This is journal center O, and this is bearing center, the right side. Now let's say journal is rotating this way, omega, and journal center is making a move, omega p, and it is rotating like this about the bearing center. Okay. Now this is the radius of journal R. This point, let's say this point is 1 and this point is 2. And of course, this is eccentricity, journal center to bearing center. Of course, that is eccentricity E. Okay. Now imagine flow in the gap 1 O. Is R omega by 2 C minus E. C is the bearing clearance. Okay. That means R plus C equal to radius of bearing. So this is your gap. This is your gap is actually C minus E. You multiply the average velocity of the flow, that is R omega by 2. So similarly, flow in the gap. So flow in gap 1 O means this is the gap. Let me show you. This is the gap. So flow in gap 2 O means this is the gap. So flow in gap 2O is R omega by 2 C plus E. Okay. So now at this instant, the journal is moving upward with an instantaneous velocity of omega p into E. Journal moving up with an velocity omega p into E. So if you use that, so the flow in total gap, flow in total projected area, that is 2R plus 2C. This is the total projected area. So what will get? R omega by 2 C minus E plus 2R omega P into E minus by 2 C plus E equal to 0. Okay, so balancing the flow to 0. Then from here, you will get RE 2 omega P minus omega equal to 0. As you know, this RE cannot be equal to 0. These are geometry. So in that case, your 2 omega P minus omega equal to 0, which implies that your omega P by omega equal to half. Okay, so this is the way it is derived from the flow balancing. So theoretically, it becomes half. So that's why we call it half wheel instability. Okay, so any doubt regarding this?
Sir, can you explain the projected area, the flow and projected area?
See, this flow, this gap, I told you that 1O gap means the gap between bearing and journal at point 1, this one. Okay. Similarly, 2O gap means the gap in the area from the bearing to journal here. So in 1O, what is your average speed? Average speed is always average speed of journal. So journal speed is equal to omega. R into omega is the linear speed of journal surface. Bearing is stationary. So average speed of flow, so U by 2, that is R omega by 2. Okay, that speed into, just a minute. Okay, so that average speed into the gap is C minus E. This gap is C minus E, this gap. Okay, similarly at 2O, the average speed is same, R omega by 2, and the gap is C plus E. C plus E is here. This is C plus E. Okay, now this is the flow happening in the gap. Now at the same time, the whole journal, okay, the whole journal, that is 2R, is moving upward with a velocity omega p. Okay, so therefore the linear velocity of journal at that instant is omega p into E. Okay, so that's why we have 2R omega p into E, that is the linear velocity of journal. It is moving upward. Okay, this is also moving upward, this is also moving upward, and this is moving downward. This is moving downward. So that's why it is minus. So this is the flow in the total projected area 2R plus C. That means in the diameter of the bearing. Total bearing diameter from 1 to 2. This is actually from, if you see, 1 to 2. So if you balance that, then you'll get this equation. Okay, from here you calculate omega p by omega equal to half. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what we got from theoretical prediction, but in numerical analysis we will see that this value will come around 0.35 to 0.4. Okay, not half from numerical analysis. Anyway, so let us now on we'll slowly move on to numerical rotor dynamics. We'll not be studying theoretical but or analytical, but you have to do some assignment on that. But before moving on to let us say this vibration equation. So can you solve this equation using Simulink? Simulink is available in MATLAB. Have you tried that? Any of you tried that? Anyone tried Simulink in MATLAB?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, those who have not tried, or even if you have tried, so what I asked you to do, you solve this equation using Simulink. So how do you solve this equation using Simulink?
Using integrators.
Yes, using integrator. So you have to write this equation in this manner: x double dot plus c by m x dot plus k by m x equal to f by m, right? So here, how do? You put integrator, right? So two integrators you have to use, 1 by s. So this goes your, from this side it comes x double dot, right? So this comes here x dot and this comes out x. So this you can actually plot. Go for a sync and plot it, right? So now you have to close this loop. Now if you see the x double dot, what you are doing in x double dot? So this equation, if you see, let me so x double dot actually equal to minus of this, plus of this. Okay. So therefore, you take x dot from here. So add, multiplies c by m. Okay. Multiply this c by m. So this will become minus c by m x dot. And similarly, you take a tab from x, multiply minus k by m. Okay. After multiplication of this, you bring these two. Okay. Now combine these two, add these two. Add these two. Then you fit that. Sorry. Then you have to bring also f. Yes. If you give some constant here, a by m, some constant, you add everything here. Okay. And then feed it to x double dot. Clear? This is what you do in Simulink. So everyone, I suggest you try today this one. This is very interesting and it will not take much time. What you can do, you have to also assign initial value for this. Any of the integrator, you assign initial value. Okay. Initial value. Any of the integrator, you assign initial value for x or x dot. So by that you should be able to solve. So what I suggest, you make this diagram in Simulink, then take c equal to 0. Okay. And also take f equal to 0 for the first case. Second case, you take c equal to something, but f equal to 0. and in third case you take C equal to something and F equal to also something. So see the response, how the plots are coming, see how the X is varying. Okay. In fact, for synchronous vibration, you can give F as a function of F sin omega t or something. Okay. So that you try with Simulink today. So if you have any doubt, next class we can discuss further on this. So that is all for today. So let me quickly know if you have any doubt.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
in that FDM program for plain journal bearing, the first assignment, sir, if we increase the number of...
You are talking about first assignment, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
First assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, if we increase the number of nodes in that, the value of maximum pressure decreases very much. Why so that?
No, it should not decrease that much. But what is the node number you are using?
Sir, if we use node number for 100 or around 200, then there is not much variation. But if we increase beyond that, then the value of pressure decreases drastically.
But your total load remains same or different?
Total load remains, that's it. Just pressure. If we plot that pressure curve, no?
I'm not talking about pressure. I'm talking about total load. See this, mesh convergence. So 10 number of nodes, like 50 number of nodes, 100 number of nodes, result will vary. But beyond a point, result will not vary. Okay. Now you should always check for the load, not for the pressure. Pressure may shift a bit, but the load that you are integrating the pressure and calculating the load, W equal to integration of P. Okay. So that load should remain same. So have you checked that?
No, sir, not.
So
Sir, there is a like the FDM code you have written in the class. It is wrong actually. At the last one, that is pi plus 1 plus pi minus 1 by 2. You have written minus in between. So that's why it depends on dx.
what I have written, Pi plus 1?
Minus pi minus 1 by 2. You have written that. It should be plus pi minus 1 by 2.
For double differentiation.
Yes, sir. Del
Yeah,
square p by del
that is
s.
plus. That is plus. For double differentiation, it has to be plus. If I have
You written minus in the lecture. So.
Okay, maybe I did the wrong thing. But for double differentiation, it is like this: P I plus 1 plus P I minus 1 minus 2 Pij Ppi. Okay, divided by delta x square. Are you talking about this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is only due to that sign change we are seeing the change in delta x.
This has to be plus. This is not minus. If I have written it, then it's wrong. Okay, by mistake I have written it. So this has to be plus. Okay. So you rectify that. So you do the program, and by this Sunday I'll open the second assignment for journal bearing FDM. So you have to complete that and upload that journal bearing FDM also. Okay. Then we will move on to now slowly to numerical rotodynamics, and there also you have to do some programs.
Sir, is it possible that we can correct it? We have submitted the assignment corrected.
Okay, I'll open it. I'll put both assignment 1 and assignment 2 to be submitted on this Sunday. Both. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. So with that, let us close this class. We'll meet on the next Monday with some new topic. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.